American people.
Let's be clear and factual. This ballroom, this stage, this production, it's paid for by private donors, not taxpayers. But that's not the story. The story is what happens after the speech ends, because ideas don't stay in ballrooms. They become laws, budgets, and debt, ultimately passed to the American people. Welcome in. This is Dan French. You guys know the show, The Dan French Show. Today we have a great one to talk about. Again, you didn't pay for the ballroom, but you may pay for what leaves it. Today we're going to talk about our private investors and private donors paying for the ballroom, but ultimately who's paying for it overall, and is taxpayers going to be even involved on any of the cost for this. So we had Jesse Watters come out. If you guys don't know who Jesse Watters is, he's a conservative American political commentator and host on Fox News Channel, was invited to go to the White House to visit President Trump, and he was giving him a tour. President Trump was boasting about the idea of having this big, beautiful ballroom. And really, he showed Jesse Watters around and then started to talk about building a monument. And this is why he's doing it. This is going to cost $400+ million to be created. This is a lot of money. It started at $200 million and now it's ballooned all the way up to $400+ million for a ballroom. So is this a problem for Americans out there? And even if Americans aren't paying for the ballroom itself, apparently it's through private donors and nonprofit, then ultimately will Americans actually pay for it in some way? Let's get into what Jesse Watters had to say, and then I'm going to come back, give you my opinion on this, and then we'll wrap it up.
And so he brings us over to like the executive room, and he sits down. We're having like Mexican food. He goes, Jesse, you want to see the rendition of the big, beautiful ballroom? I said, sure, let me see it. He rolls the whole thing out. And guys, I don't know if you know this, the ballroom is huge. Like, I said, Mr. President, the ballroom is 4 times the size of the White House. He said, Jesse, it's a monument. I'm building a monument to myself because no one else will.
Excellent. So you heard what he had to say. So private donors through nonprofit or Americans, who's paying for this? How a private event becomes a public bill. When you look at federal agencies, salaries, this is government spending. This is going to be spending that we're going to need to maintain, to run the ballroom. It's going to have technology, enforcement, infrastructure. There's going to be changes that consistently go on. So in the future, even if Americans aren't paying for this now, just to be created, to be built, then we're going to be paying for it in future events, in future, maybe politician meetings, things of that sort. So again, this is not something that Americans are just going to turn away and say, okay, well, we're not paying for this and we're not going to be affected. Again, this is not a political show. I don't care what direction you go, but what I am going to look at is follow the money and where's the money going. And there is cost to this. You have to have staffing, security, upkeep, utilities, communications. Ultimately, the White House operations overall will have to be increased. That will increase Americans' spending. Is a ballroom really necessary? Not, in my opinion, no. We have other things that we should be focusing on. Our debt, we're just paying the actual interest off the money we've created, or the digital currency we created. We're just paying the interest off of the debt we've created. And so how are we spending money on a ballroom and knowing that we're going to have future taxpayer money going towards that and not spending it in other areas that really need support and help? I think this ballroom is about ego. I think a lot of politicians are about ego. It's not because he's Trump. It's just in general. Every politician, political power has a form of ego, and they want to feed it. Now, again, I don't dislike Trump. I just think this idea, it's more about him or more about the monument, more about what they can do with this ballroom versus who's paying for it overall and how is this going to be funded over time. I disagree with it. You guys let me know in your comments what you think about this ballroom. I'm Dan French. This is the Dan French Show. Like, subscribe, and we'll see you guys at the next one.